If you think ghost stories are just legends to frighten children, stay until the end of this one. After hearing it, you'll never look at your apartment the same way again. This is the true story of a student who moved into a building where some neighbors are no longer quite alive. And what happened in room 203 goes beyond anything she could have imagined. She thought she had found the opportunity of a lifetime. An apartment located right in the city center, spacious, bright, and at a price that defied all competition. When she visited the place, everything seemed perfectly normal. The walls were a bit worn. The wooden floor creaked in places, but nothing alarming. The building itself was rather old, built in the 1960s, but the landlord swore to her that the place was secure, quiet, and ideal for studying. Her name was Ellie, a modern literature student. She had just arrived in the city she didn't know. The landlord had offered her studio apartment 201, right next to the infamous room 203. Once settled in, everything seemed to unfold normally during the first few days. She was finding her bearings, discovering the neighborhood, starting to feel at home. But by the end of the first week, strange things began to happen. Each night, around 3 a.m, she heard noises coming from the neighboring room. Slow, hesitant footsteps, as if someone was pacing in circles. She had heard the landlord say that room 203 was empty and awaiting renovation. She first thought it might be from the apartment below or above, but the sounds clearly came from the adjoining wall, right behind her bed. One night, she pressed her ear against the wall to be sure, and she heard breathing. Long, slow. Like someone asleep or waiting. She wanted to talk to the landlord about it, but didn't dare come across as paranoid. So she tried to forget, to focus on her classes, to convince herself she was imagining it all. But on the following nights, the noises became more insistent. She heard what sounded like furniture being moved. Then one evening, a voice, faint, almost inaudible. She didn't understand what it was saying at first. But one phrase repeated several times, "You shouldn't be here." This time, she decided to knock on the door of room 203, but nobody answered. She tried to turn the handle, locked. The next morning, she went down to ask the building's caretaker, a tired old man who seemed to hesitate before answering. He told her that room 203 had indeed been empty for several months, and that the last tenant had left the premises, leaving his belongings behind. He didn't specify why, but concluded with this strange phrase, "Some places keep a trace of those who suffered too much in them." If you're still here, this is the moment to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell, because what follows is increasingly disturbing, and you really don't want to miss the upcoming stories. Ellie began having nightmares, always the same ones. She was locked in a dark room, with a figure crouched in a corner. She never could make out its face, but she knew it was watching her, and every time she woke up, she had the feeling that someone had just left her room. One night, unable to take it anymore, she decided to force her way into room 203. She used a pin, clumsily picking the lock. The door yielded with a long, painful creak. The interior was frozen in time. A dark room, covered in dust. Clothes hanging up, an unmade bed, a table with black and white photographs. She approached. The photos showed a young man alone, smiling, sometimes sad. On the wall, a phrase carved with a blade. "I am still here." Heart pounding, she closed the door and rushed back to her room. She tried to talk about it with her friends, but no one believed her. Even the landlord avoided her in the following days. So she researched the building and discovered that about 3 years earlier, a psychology student had lived in room 203. His name was Adrian. He had disappeared overnight. without leaving a message, without a suitcase, without a goodbye note. His parents had issued a missing person report, but no lead had ever been found. His case had been closed after several months of investigation. Ellie understood that things wouldn't stop there. Each night, the manifestations intensified. She now heard crying. Objects would fall for no reason in her own room. And sometimes, she would find her mirror covered in fog, as if someone had breathed on it. One night, she woke up with a start and saw a figure standing in the corner of her room. She couldn't move, nor scream, just observe the presence that watched her in silence. When daylight pierced through the curtains, the figure had disappeared. But on the floor, there was a photograph, an old photograph of her, taken in her room while she was sleeping. She left the apartment the next morning without looking back. She left all her belongings and never returned. A few weeks later, a new tenant moved into Studio 201. A young man, he lasted only 10 days. He left without explanation. And since then, room 203 remains empty, locked. But sometimes, the neighbors claim to hear someone talking, whispering, laughing, or crying, but no one dares approach it. Because everyone in the building knows one thing: you don't disturb the one who still lives there, even if no one should be living there anymore, even if no one has the right to remember him. So the next time you hear strange noises in your building, make sure you know who really lives next to you, because some walls don't just separate apartments. They also contain memories, and sometimes the ghosts that refuse to leave. Maybe tonight, when you're alone in your apartment, you'll hear it too. That soft tapping against your wall, the faint whisper calling your name, the shadows moving just out of sight. And when you're trying to fall asleep, you might feel it. That strange sensation of someone watching you, the indentation forming on the edge of your bed as if someone just sat down, the sudden cold spot that appears in a room that was warm moments ago. You might tell yourself it's just your imagination odds playing tricks on you. But deep down, you'll start to wonder if you're truly alone in your home. After all, every building has its history. Every room has witnessed something. And some rooms remember everything that happened within their walls. So tonight, before you turn off the lights, take one last look around your bedroom, because the moment darkness falls, you never know who might be waiting to make themselves known, waiting in the shadows, watching, listening, remembering, and wanting to share their story with you, whether you're ready to hear it or not. The story of room 203 doesn't end with Ellie. It continues with every new tenant who moves in, with every curious visitor who asks too many questions, with everyone who reads this story and starts paying more attention to the sounds in their own home. Because once you acknowledge the presence of something beyond our understanding, you open a door that cannot easily be closed again. So tonight, as you lay in bed scrolling through your phone, remember that not all stories are fiction, and not all apartments are as empty as they seem. Some contain echoes of past lives, pain that refuses to fade, and souls that will never find peace. When the night is at its darkest and the world falls silent, listen carefully to what your walls might be trying to tell you, because in every building there's a room 203, a place where the veil between worlds has worn thin, where something waits, where something watches, where something remembers, and maybe, just maybe, where something wants you to know that you are never truly alone. Sleep well tonight, if you can.